All right, so this is a Netflix movie that came out recently that is called The Devil All the Time. Um, it takes place in Ohio and West Virginia between 1957 and the 1960s. Um, it is, I guess you could call it a period piece. Is not based on anything historical, but it definitely was accurate for the time. This movie is definitely heavily religious based, but it's not like there's movies out there that are heavy religious based, but they force the beliefs onto the viewers. It's not like that. They don't force anything towards you, but it is definitely heavily religious, which fits for the time. If you know a little bit about the South, there was a lot of in areas. I don't know if it's like big towns or what, or I don't really know exactly of that. But they had these churches, and obviously, and they're kind of like the old churches that kind of were like in the 1800s. You know, the small houses kind of thing with the cross on top, and it was this that, and the people were those way they have them today, but it's more open-minded people than anything today. But back then, it was heavily religious people. They believed in sacrifice. A sacrifice needed for the god to heal people that they loved, or they just believed that praying to the god will, heal them. And they didn't really believe in medicine and all that. And they like fully believe in the whole thing. It's like they didn't really touch upon any of the other stuff. They normally you hear today. But it was definitely heavy when watching it, and you kept that in your mind. And I didn't really like the idea at first, but it definitely fits the movie. There's definitely a lot of psychotic people in here. I can't be specific, but you see a lot of it, and there's a lot of people being killed and dying, and it's just a lot of chaos. It was definitely a weird movie. I did not know what I felt about it for a good 3/4 of the movie. They definitely will kind of stretch out a good certain amount of stories, because what they do, my issue with this one, and I'm kind of fine with it now, is they had a long lead up, and in that lead up, and then kind of more towards the movie, because they focus on other individuals in here, and then they all connect at some point. But they do it with flashbacks of to something they showed earlier, and there's a lot of that in there. It was definitely a lot of them, a lot more than I'm normal to. I normally am okay in the middle with it, with movies doing that. I would prefer that they do it at the beginning. But overall, it wasn't that of a problem. Now, there's obviously some really sick people in here that were also psychotic. You'll know who they are, and why they're sick. This does star Robert Pattinson, and you already know from my last video how I feel about him. I definitely like him as an actor. He definitely did a really good job in here with the southern accent and the kind of his voice change of pitch and his whole mannerism of how he's acting. I can tell you right now, if I didn't watch The Rover, this would definitely sell me on this one. So this is definitely a bonus, and this makes me more wanting to see more of his acting. Tom Holland is in this, and to be honest, I have never liked him at all ever since I saw him in, I believe it was Civil War. Really didn't like his Spider-Man at all, any of his films. I mean, I did like him somewhat in Xfinity War. but he didn't have a lot of whole parts in there. To me, he's the worst Spider-Man, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that disagree because a lot of people liked him. But his characters and everything I've seen were just kind of childish and out there with the childish and cringy. So I heard that he was doing a serious role in this. So I had high expectations for it. And I definitely would say I absolutely loved his character here, and I'm definitely sold with his acting. So, and I admit that's my kind of bias and stubbornness to certain characters based on their thing. He is 24 or 25, so he is young, so he's going to be, some time to actually more pick up his acting. For me, at least. But usually in general. Bill Sarkard, and I can't pronounce his name, he's that very tall, thin guy that kind of reminds you of Slender Man. He usually plays a creepy people characters. He first time I saw him was in It, and I definitely loved it. No pun intended. Another movie that he was a TV show I saw was on Hulu, I believe it was, is the Stephen King Castle Rock. Now, he's in the first season. I only saw the first season because they did what I don't like with the second season, with what they do with other seasons or movies, is they'll change every character in there. So I didn't really watch that. But he definitely does a good job. And he definitely does a really good job in here of this psychotic Tom Holland's dad. It's just like, you think he's a little bit, okay in the beginning, like he's not going to be, like heavily religious. But then he eventually just gets like really, really psychotic. And there's a whole bunch of characters in here. All of them are just messed up in the head. Except for Tom Holland's character, he definitely has some violentness to him. And, I definitely loved it, and that was like the big part of this movie because I loved his character, I loved his acting. The quality of this, what you expect from Netflix, is definitely a 180p HD. I don't think it was UHD. I think that's usually 4K. They have the UHD thing. Which is great, and it was definitely, you could tell it was that, obviously. I was struggling somewhat, I was going back and forth on this story. So I had trouble telling if I liked the movie or not. So I was debating between, a certain one of 3 stars or 4. It was by the end, I definitely loved how it ended, and they definitely did a great job with this. It's definitely something eerie and type of again, heavily religious and this bizarre. It's definitely something normal. It's not something I normally drive to, and I wasn't really driving to wanting to watch this from the trailer, but I wanted to see Tom Holland's acting in here because he's playing a serious role. It is a movie that you need to check out. It's definitely a something really interesting and something new. It's but bizarre. Again, they kind of the story was just weird, but it definitely comes around. I did this 4 out of 5 stars. I highly suggest you watch it, and it's not going to be for everyone, that's for sure. That is my review, and I don't know if I'll have anything out this week because I want to start binge watching stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing reviews on any of them because off the top of my mind, I don't know what I put on the saved. Please like and subscribe, and stay healthy, stay well, and love you all, and Skull.